For those of us that haven't met, I'll give you a little bit about who I am. I am a retired college professor. I taught interactive media at Humber College for about 15 years. I've written about 18 books, a couple thousand tutorials, and spoken at conferences around the world. And currently, I've got about 17 courses up on lynda.com, or some of you may know it as LinkedIn Learning. And if you want to bug me, feel free. You can always catch me on LinkedIn, or if you want to connect with me on LinkedIn, feel free. So one of the things I'm doing at Lynda is they're asking, when I say Lynda, could you please make the transposition? Because they're in a process of swinging over to LinkedIn. And I've been with Lynda for like since 2007. So I always think of it as Lynda, and I still have a little bit of a hard time saying LinkedIn Learning. So anyway, what I've been doing at LinkedIn Learning over the past couple of years is they decided to keep me busy by getting me involved in the UX design tools. So they sort of put me in a really interesting position. Show the world how to use UX design tools. Anybody here doing UX? In what way?
Website for the user experience.
You guys that are coders, you're involved in UX no matter what you may think. Okay? You're part of the team. If somebody touches it other than you, like me, that's a user experience. Your code is what makes it rock and roll. My design is what gives you the guidance to do your magic. But we're part of a team. Got that? Okay, I can do the magic and show people what things do, but you're the guy that actually makes it all happen. And debugging must just drive you guys crazy. With a guy like me, I go, well, it's not working. Why is it not working? Oh, I'm just designing it. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the UX prototyping, and you'll notice that nobody cares how you did it. So let's get started with that. And I'm going to start with something that's totally out of your wheelhouse. A couple of weeks ago, I went to see Downton Abbey with my beloved wife, and we had a wonderful time at the movie. And have you guys ever had this experience of going to a movie where the movie ends and everybody just takes off? Yeah, my wife is quite the opposite. She sits me down, and I have to sit through all the freaking credits. They're the guys that made it happen. But when the people leave the movie, they don't care about the credits. They don't care that who did it. They just care that the movie was made. Okay, so I want you to keep that analogy in mind. So where does prototyping fit into the process? You guys are all coders, so there's going to be prototyping involved no matter what you do. With UX, what we've got here is a mix of social science, information architecture, interaction design, visual UI design, and you guys, development. And it's a mix of everything, and everybody is involved in it. Everybody. You don't have to have a degree as a sociologist to be involved in UX design. Marketing guys may, but basically that's what it is. It's a mix. And remember, what we're keeping an eye on is how the user uses the product, and is it a good experience for the user. And if it's a crappy experience, they're going to do what you guys do with apps that don't work. Goodbye. So the focus when you're prototyping or in UX is not on design, it's making the business case. That's the focus. We're going to develop an app that helps people do X, Y, and Z. And we're going to make tons of money at it. And it's going to cost us X to make it, and we expect revenues of Y, and hopefully we'll have a profit of Z. But there's a business case. This process doesn't start unless a solid business case is made. Then they carefully identify the user. And you'll notice I use the word mythical, because the user at this point does not exist. All the social research and all that stuff going into it creates what's called a persona. Mary is 35 years old. She has 3 kids and is looking and blah, 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 blah. They make it up. But it's all based upon the research they do prior to even designing the whole darn thing. And then finally, they map out the user experience as he or she moves through the project or the product. And this is a typical graph of how they would do that. It's just a simple flow diagram. There are not only flow diagrams, but there are journey maps. There's all kinds of stuff involved, but this is typical. So what is the purpose of an interactive prototype? Because at some point, somebody has to produce something physical that people can use. You just can't talk about it. Who was here for my chat last year about motion? Remember when I said you can't talk about it, you have to show it? Same thing with prototyping. You can't talk about it, you have to show it. And you've got to basically, well, let's give you an example. If I say to you, well, to use the app, all I have to do is tap it. Okay, tap what? What happens when I tap it? Or to open the menu, I click the hamburger icon and the menu slides out. Well, that's great. That's wonderful. What does the menu look like? How fast does it move? What are the words in it? It's all kinds of stuff. So the first thing you got to realize is a prototype is not the final project. Okay? Its purpose is to give you guys, the developers, an idea of where our heads are at. And it's your responsibility to tell us whether we are on the right track or whether our heads are firmly up our butts. Okay? Don't be afraid to say, that can't be done. It also shows interactions and transitions. Taps, slides, pinches, zooms, swipes. Okay, how do we move from screen to screen? How long does it take to move from screen to screen? And by the way, anybody here know how long it takes for a menu to slide out from one side of an iPhone app to into the viewport? Anybody know?
0.38 seconds.
Nope. Nice try.
Unlucky guess.
Unlucky guess. Actually, the average is 0.5 seconds, but it's actually 0.3. 1/3 of a second. Anybody wrap their head around that one? Nope, but you're the guys that are going to have to say, okay, so it's going to take 1/3 of a second, approximately 300 milliseconds to move from one side to the other. It shows intent. It doesn't say what the app does, it shows the intent of the app. That's what the prototype does. It shows intent. This is what we want to do. This screen is designed to do this. This is our intent with the screen. And it keeps developers very happy. I'm serious. Would you rather have some designer sit down with you and say, well, yeah, when I slide it across, all the pictures appear. And then they go, handle it. No, you don't need that. You need to see what's going on. And there are a lot of tools that will enable you to do that. And it can be shared with the team and the stakeholders for comment. Sorry, but that's the way it works. Stakeholders are wonderful, right? The guys that are not involved in the process, they're just wonderful. I don't like to type. Well, why don't you like to type? I don't know. Or, this button doesn't work. What button? Well, the red one over on the side. There are 2 red ones. Which one? That sort of thing. And they've got to be involved in the process. Oh boy. So great. What does it look like? Well, the first step in the process is what I'm showing you right here, is a notebook. Okay, you just pull out a notebook, a hunk of paper, whatever, and you sketch out what you want to do. And that's what you're looking at right there. This could be such thing as a loose turn notebook, it could be a spiral ring notebook, it could be paper pulled out of the copier and people just sketch away. But what it is it's low risk and iterative. Now this is a word that ripples through UX like you wouldn't believe it, iterative. And that means nothing is ever final. We're constantly refining. We'll get a little deeper into that later on. Once we get past that point, then a paper prototype is made. And again, it's iterative. It also is a demonstration. You can actually slide the papers through and show people what to do. There are companies that use these for user testing as well. Okay, so they will actually put potential users in front of a paper prototype and say, okay, fine, I want you to find the button that launches the application or something like that. And if they can't find it, we're going back to the drawing board. And then it finally becomes a digital wireframe. This is called a lo-fi prototype. Have you guys heard the term lo-fi? So basically, it focuses on content placement. Nobody's worrying about words, what the images are, what the icons are. They're just more worried about content placement. So it's called a wireframe. It's low risk, iterative, and if you use software, you can also make it interactive. So again, you can show people how to get from screen to screen. You guys are now involved in the process, right? None of this, here you go, make it work. Then it moves into what we call a high fidelity prototype. And this is where we start focusing on visual and typographic design details. And again, this is iterative, can be constantly changed, and also can be used as a potential deliverable. Because a lot of the software that I'm going to show you tonight gives you the ability to actually videotape a user using it, or create a video of a user using it, and you can send it out. So prototypes really simplify the process. That's exactly what they do. First thing is they give you the ability to employ prioritization. Once a prototype is done, you can shift things around. You can adjust the location, sequences, appearance. Somebody says, I don't get why there's pictures here. Okay, fine, it's just a different picture. I don't understand this icon. What does it mean? Okay, let's find a different icon. And we can just throw that stuff in. And also, sometimes the important stuff is in the wrong place. And again, you guys can jump in and say, where's the back button? What's it look like? If it's in the wrong place, nobody's going to find it. Consolidation. Redundancy is a risk that is always involved in the UX design process. Things are reused, reused, and reusable. Why not just pull them all together and make them one element rather than four? A picture is worth 1,000 words. One picture that says the story is better than 5 pictures that support the story. Subtraction. Sometimes you've got stuff in there that you don't need. And again, I'll give you an example of this. I learned this one back in 2000. There was a developer, or a guy that ran an agency in New York. His name was Helen Curtis. And Helen had a rule in his agency. It was real simple. Anybody at any time could walk by anybody's machine, point at something on the screen, and use one word: justify. And if you couldn't justify why it was there, gone. So subtraction really does work. And again, feel free to ask, why is that there? I don't get it. And of course, redistribution is another thing that you can do to simplify the process. Change the sequence, the number, replace content with features. You can move the pages around if they don't make sense. Why do we go from this page to this page? Shouldn't we be going from this page to this one down here? And by the way, a lot of these things will also become visible when you send them out for user testing. Users are the craziest people. And by the way, I always tell my students, if you really want to get someone to look at your work, get your dad to look at it. Right? My dad is 94 years old. If I show him what I'm doing, he goes, I don't get this, son. What are you doing? Well, I'm trying to make an app. What's an app? Well, Dad, if you tap a button, okay, I'll tap a button. Which button? And on it goes. But it's great because you start understanding how people use the app. So Dad can't find the button, or it's in the wrong place. I can move things around. Or he doesn't understand why I went from here to there. Okay, fine. Maybe we need an intermediate step. And finally, clarification. Again, if you don't understand it, then why is it there? Clarity and meaning. You guys all have these things, right? What's that? Oh, it's called a smartphone. They're actually quite dumb. But screen space on these things is minimal. Okay, quite unlike what you've got here. You got this.
Does it come with reading glasses?
No, but that's why we created Pinch.
Pinch doesn't work on most apps.
Well, then that's their problem, not yours. Yeah, Pinch doesn't work on most apps. My wife had the most wonderful experience this week. Was there somebody here who was a banker? So my wife was doing our online banking with CIBC, and she does it all on an iPad. And she suddenly realized that two of the accounts that she normally rates, which are my business accounts, are not on the iPad app because they redesigned it. So she phones the CIBC and says, where are these two things that were there yesterday? Oh, I would chase the app, they're probably over here. No, they're not. Well, then where are they? We don't know. We'll put you in touch with technical support. No, they should have put a user in front of it before they sent it to my wife. Now she's going to get all over them. So let's give you a quick look at the interactive prototypes. This is software. This is no particular order. These are the 4 that I have worked with. There are all kinds out there. It's like Photoshop. They all do the same thing, just in different places. So I'm going to talk about Adobe Experience Design. You guys have got great photo accounts. You've all got Experience Design. UXPin, which I really like. It's run by a bunch of developers, and it's kind of neat. Principal, any Mac users here? Hardcore Mac users. Principal is Mac only, and Proto.io. So 2 of these are basically, excuse me, 2 of these are local solutions, and 2 of them are available online. Let's start with Adobe XD. It's freebie. Comes with the Adobe Creative Cloud, so if you've got an account, you got it. And it integrates with all of Adobe's design applications, all of them, including my favorite, After Effects. Now, After Effects for some people is like trying to drive chopsticks into your eyeballs, but I'll tell you, I use After Effects after using XD. I'll do up a quick interaction in XD, show how something moves, and then I will actually take those 2 screens and put them over in After Effects to actually refine the easing, which is basically moving in and moving out. It is a desktop application only, and it's available on Mac and PC versions. Now, those of you that have PCs, it's different on the PC. Some of the menus are moved into the Edit menu, not under the Apple menu. It accommodates an infinite number of artworks. So you guys are talking about scale. If you've got a project that requires 1,000 screens, you can use it. And if you have 1,000 screens, it's going to open like lightning. The first time they ever demonstrated Experience Design was at Adobe's Max conference about 4 years ago. A friend of mine showed up on the main stage. She threw up a screen that had over 1,500 different artworks on it, and the thing opened like that. And people just went, whoa. One of the features that people absolutely adore about it is the repeat grid. So you can use it for lists. So if you've got lists of, say, I don't know, contacts with photographs and names and stuff like that, you can actually have a folder full of photographs, throw them into a repeat grid, and they all go in where they're supposed to be. And if they're masked or round or whatever you want to do with them, they're done. And best of all, you can use an Excel spreadsheet and throw in the text into each of the elements inside the repeat grid. It's pretty cool. And it's shareable. You can share the project, and comments can be added. Now, for you guys, I'm going to stay away from code. Some of these apps say, yes, we'll give you the code. And I'm not arrogant enough to think that that's great stuff, because you guys all know the only good code that is written is the code you write. So it's kind of neat, and plus they have what are called components. These are little things that are common. There would be things like logos in there. There would be things like on your iPhone where you have the grid of items. That will be a component. There will be a component that will show us video, and you can throw in video in the whole bit, and you can edit it. And the really cool thing about the editable components inside of XD is if someone says, I don't like the color of this component, and you've got 1,500 artworks, you change the color, which is ripples to a different thing, or someone may say, let's put a different image inside this component just to switch things up. You can just put a different image in and it will only affect that particular component. Really a neat feature. And it can be used with a design system, which is all the rage these days. UXPin. Now, UXPin is kind of a neat one. Yeah, it's browser-based, and it does have a desktop application. The problem with the desktop application is you can do the whole thing on the desktop, but eventually you're going to have to sync it with the online version. So you've got to have the browser open at some point. I don't know why they do that. They use states for interactivity. So you've got to really start thinking of a simple thing like a button. A button has 3 states, up, over, down. So you've got to show each of those states if you want to do interactivity. You can bring in media from a variety of sources, including Adobe applications and sketch content. So if you guys are working with artists who say, well, the only great UX design tool is Sketch, this will take sketch content and just drop it right in there. It contains a full collection of libraries for all of the major platforms and has their components. So all you guys have to do is say, okay, here's the component, and then head over to wherever and find the code base for that component. And you can also add audio and video content to this, which you can't do with Adobe XD. And you can add comments and share along with a device preview. By the way, Adobe XD just introduced device previews, so you can now prototype it up, put it on a device and share it with people. And they go, wow, that looks pretty good. You know, it's amazing how you can work with stuff on your screen, but when you put it on the device, you find all kinds of world of hurt. Principle. Principle is Mac only. Interactivity is used using drivers and a timeline. I love it. You can import Adobe and Sketch content. It has a full collection of device libraries that are fully editable. You can add audio and video content, and you can add comments and share with a device preview. But again, Mac only. Proto.io, this is one of my favorites, actually.
They're all your favorites.
No, this one here, I really enjoyed doing. It's browser-based. You can bring in Adobe and Sketch content. As a matter of fact, you can bring in any content into Proto.io. It's really easy to learn. Containers features allows you to create scrolling content, so you can actually scroll stuff without having to wire it up in a prototype. It has a full collection of device libraries, so if you're looking for Macintosh or material design Google components, they're already inside the app. And you can add audio and video content, and you can add comments and share with the device preview as well. On top of that, Proto and UXPin do actually kick out the code for the components. That's the good news. The bad news is it's primarily CSS, so that's not your thing. Knock yourself out. So there you have it. Nobody cares how you did it. Nobody cares how you made the prototype. They just care that you did it. So thank you. Yes?
What is Sketch?
What is Sketch? Sketch is a drawing application, primarily Mac-based. It's really gone big with the UX community. UX designers think it's really great, and they sort of think it's the anti-Adobe. So if you're dealing with a UX designer and he says, well, I'm not using Illustrator and I'm not using Photoshop, I'm going to use Sketch. Don't worry. He's just being irritated. Remember, they all do the same thing, just different ways of doing it. By the way, Sketch does integrate too with InVision. Anybody else?
I have a question. So a lot of these tools are, we're still designing screens.
Good question.
Like, third question. So a lot of these tools are, we're designing screens. Part of what these tools solve is this handoff problem that happens between designers and developers. But you're still designing these screens. Have you seen anything around where you're more designing the building blocks or more focused around the building blocks rather than?
This is such a new genre of software. Yeah, really, it's only been around for about 3-4 years. And it's starting to really start to pick up. And I would not be surprised to see exactly what you're talking about. But that's kind of the good news. But the bad news for me is what that tends to do is jump up the app. Like Adobe introduced plugins. They introduced it a couple of revisions ago. And plugins are pretty neat because they allow you to bring in photographs and stuff like that. But now that there are like a couple hundred plugins and they're all in a freaking menu and you don't know what they do. And on top of that, some of them are you have to have a subscription to them. So if you don't have a subscription, you can't use it. So why is it there? So this is all going to work itself out. But frankly, having been through the wars with code, yes, we will kick out clean code. No, not going to happen. It is not going to happen. Okay, you guys, it's not going to put any of your jobs at risk. It's much richer than that, so it'll never be right.
So these softwares that you just told us, how does the handoff to the developers work? Do they output artifacts that the developers can just plug in, like HTMLs and CSSs and whatever not?
Yeah, they what they will do is break it up. They will send it out. For instance, if you're working with Apple devices, you have to deal with screen resolution issues, 1x, 2x, 3x. It'll do all that for you. If you're working on who here does Android work? You poor soul. Android is the Wild West. Device resolutions there range from 0.75 to 4.5, isn't it? And basically what's going on there is there's a pixel war. We want to get as many pixels in our screen as we possibly can, which will drive developers crazy because now I need to have the images scaled. Because if they're not scaled properly, they're going to look like hell. But yeah, it will break it up for you. We'll give you the text specs. It will also give you the potential code. But again, a lot of this stuff, if I give you the prototype, you're going to have the assets and you're going to be able to wire it up much easier if you're involved in the process and see what's going on. I have this transition that lasts 0.4 seconds with a dissolve. And I just say to you, well, it's just got to dissolve, and then it keeps coming back, well, it's too slow, too fast, too slow. It drives you crazy. But if you're involved in the process right from the start, where I say to you, it's a dissolve transition over 4 seconds, there's a bit of an arc, exactly what the intent is there, and you can make it happen. And let me let you a little secret. The average guy working on these things is not going to be able to tell the difference between 0.38 seconds and 0.5 seconds. Okay? So you can fudge the numbers that work. Yes, I did it exactly right. And then silently, yeah, that's it. But you're going to get the essence. It's going to be broken up in a way that you can use it. And they all do that, by the way. Anybody else? Sir.
So are any of these tools free if I'm a one-man team, or do they all cost money?
They're all costly. Okay, if you have a credit card. Shoot this guy. If you have a Creative Cloud account, XD comes with it. but you're paying for all the tools. The UXPin and Proto use a subscription model, and they have various numbers. And principle, you just buy the app and install it and wait to go. But it's not always. So
You introduced 4 very similar programs. How do you decide what to use?
nobody cares how you did it. I'm serious. I'll tell you a great story around that one. I used to hang out with the Flash guys in Toronto, and there was a guy that was at one of the Flash things, and he stood up in front of all of us and said, you know, we did this game, it was amazing, we coded it up, it looked just stunning, and then we brought in some kid to throw the graphics around our code. And I said, really? And when the client phoned, did the client phone you and say, awesome, or did the client say, I love the project? Which was it? Nobody cares how you did it. They don't care how it was done, they just care if it was done. So the client is never going to say to you, it must be done in. That's your choice. With you, there's tons of debugging applications out there, right? The 4 he showed and the ones he uses. There could be others out there. Who cares? Did it get debugged? Yeah. Okay. Sir.
So you mentioned that we're all a team. Developers, UX designers. What can we as developers study or practice to better work with our teammates?
That's not the question to be asking. The question you should be asking is how do we work with them? And it's real simple. Ask questions and regard yourself as part of the team. By the way, I'm glad that you asked that question because I have a request. I've been asked to, I was just asked today as a matter of fact, by LinkedIn Learning to do a course on UX design for non-designers. And I've got a bunch of non-designers here. Feel free to contact me with ideas that you may have. What I should cover in this one. I want to do a little crowdsourcing on this one. So I'd like to use you as a bit of a test group. Feel free to ask the questions. And basically, ask and point out, you know, this doesn't work. And if a designer says to you, you know, it's got to be this way, and you know in your bones it can't be done by code, and say so. And then say why. Don't just say no. Say why. Okay?
Last question. Okay, last question. Tom,
Yes.
you work for Airbnb, hypothetically.
I went by what?
Assume you're working for Airbnb.
Uh-huh.
You're designing the listing page. What tools? And you've designed it. It looks great. And now you want to test it and see how it looks in Chinese, in Arabic, and in Italian. What tools can you use to validate whether that would work in the design before you actually?
I leave the country. Actually, that's an interesting question. But that's a localization issue. And a lot of the applications now allow for localization. So you can test it locally. So if you want to do a Hebrew version of your Airbnb page, go ahead and do it. Use the Hebrew script and all that stuff. And then shoot it up to the user testing. And user testing is the same here as it is there. They're just going to put someone in front of the device and they're going to say, okay, here's what I'd like you to do. And give them tasks. So it's the same. It's the same all the way. But it's localization. And a lot of the apps are now getting into the localization game. And the reason for that is because accessibility. And that's become a huge issue. Maybe you've heard it referred to as ALLY, A-L-L-Y. That's just short form for accessibility because they don't understand how to spell it. Any other questions? No? No? Okay. So, if you want to sort of give me some ideas on how to do my course, you can catch me on LinkedIn. You can catch me at Tom Green on Twitter, or you can email me at tomgreen17@gmail. And that's Tom Green, one word, 17@gmail.com. And just, here's what I'd like to know.
Tom's Twitter handle is also posted at the DevTO account, so if you can catch it there as well. Thank you so much, Tom.